Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I am back with another emergency card kit video. If you're new to my channel, an emergency card is one where we make the cards ahead of time, but we leave the sentiments off. That way, when an occasion arises, we can choose the card that best fits the recipient and the sentiment that best fits the occasion. To help you with this, I release sentiments in 3 key sizes that are interchangeable on our cards. That way, your stash is ready for any card emergency. In the month of February, we are stocking our stashes with masculine cards, and I have 2 huge masculine card downloads ready for you. The first is available today. The second will come out on the 3rd Friday of the month. I am always looking for more cards for the overwhelming number of men in my life. They outnumber the women quite a lot. I don't know about y'all. So I'm excited to share this with you. It's part of my mission to make card making more affordable and more accessible to everyone. Let's take a look at the kit. So the entire month of February, I have so many ideas for you for masculine cards. And this first kit has sentiments for the outdoors, sports, and working with your hands. I have another sort of masculine themed kit coming out mid-month. Though I'll be honest, a lot of these are fairly gender neutral. They just happen to be themes that the men in my life are particularly interested in. Mechanics make the impossible possible. You nailed it. Another year in the books. To my favorite weekend warrior. You're not old, you're vintage. Our love is like camping, intense. Wishing you a year full of adventure. Take a hike on your birthday. One day you're young and cool, the next you're excited about the stripes in your lawn. Big birthday fishes, love you to the mountains and back. Happy birthday, you freak of nature. Age is just yardage. Life is better with football and you. Time to kick off some fun. So these sentiments are a 1 3/4 inch circle, and the black circle will print just a little bigger than that. I use it to help make sure that my punch or my die is centered. But if you don't want to use quite that size, the next page is the same sentiments and the same sizes. I've just removed the circle. That makes it a little bit easier to use different shapes or different sizes. Next, we have those same sentiments as rectangles, and there's 2 additional sentiments. Here's to a birthday that sizzles and wishing you a slam dunk. If you don't have any punches or dies, this is perfect because you can just use the tick marks around the outside to make sure that everything is straight and perfectly cut out. Then we have our card sketch, and we'll make 2 or 3 cards using this sketch today. We'll try out the fun fold option here on the side and the pop-up option that is included for adding a pop-up tent. It's super easy, I promise. All 4 of these pages, the 3 sentiment pages and the card sketch, are linked in the description box below the video. Just click more or show more. It will unpack that description box. I've linked to the other emergency card kits. There's a whole playlist for them if you're looking for more free downloads, any supplies that we use in the video. And then you'll find this free download. It is just linking to my Google Drive. There are additional pages you can get for free if you download from my Patreon. I have a free membership option. So next to the free download on YouTube, you'll find all the information for Patreon and a direct link to that post. If you've never been there before, there is also a video tutorial that helps explain what my Patreon is, how it works, and how you can get tons of freebies. But let's take a look at the additional pages. The free Patreon kit includes all of these circle sentiments. It's the same sentiments, but we have white text on black. You still get that printed circle to help you center everything. And then we have all of our rectangle sentiments with that white text on black. I just love the sort of graphic nature of this. I think they're a ton of fun. Also for free in Patreon are strip sentiments. These are 1/4 inch strips. You can use the tick marks on the side to help you cut them out. It's all the same sentiments as before, and then maybe 1 or 2 additional ones, or really just like I've separated them to give you more variety in how you use them. So I have 2 more whimsical fonts on this page, and the next page includes a scripty font and a classic serif font. And I love these. I just think they're really, really versatile. Then we have 4 pages of digital paper. You get it in a portrait orientation and then also in a landscape. These are just a little bit bigger than an A2 panel, so you get a little bit of wiggle room in deciding how you want your card laid out. Then I love these dreamy watercolors. We get this lovely boat out on a lake with some mountains in the background, and then this watercolor wash of a sun going down, some birds in the sky. Again, you've got both a landscape and portrait orientation. I had to do some kind of lawn something. My husband is that guy who is like so proud of how he mows his lawn. So we get a bunch of stripes in our lawn, like heading off into eternity. I lost it. I was like, this is what I have to do. And then this one is unique. This is slightly wider than 8.5 inches and slightly taller than 5.5. And we're going to use this with our pop-up tent to create this fun little scene on the inside of our card. Again, all of that is free if you download from Patreon. If you're already a Patreon member, there is a quick link to that post. Just make sure that you're logged all the way in. There are 4 paid tiers in my Patreon, and the lowest tier is $2. It's the Sassy Friends. And so they're going to get some really great sports ball ephemera. So we have a bat, a baseball, a soccer ball, a basketball, and a football. They're super fun. I tried to give you a couple of sizes. You're going to download these as a PDF. If you're interested in being able to resize these images, that's at the champion tier. My highest tier in Patreon gets everything in all the versions of the kits as resizable image files, both for the sentiments and for the images. But I think you get a lot of variety here just in the PDF version. So hopefully that will help you make some really great cards. I got great feedback last month on the birthday text background. So we've done a football themed background this year. You're a great catch. Score big this year. Nothing like a tailgate. Hope your day is a touchdown. I drafted this card from scratch in the 7th round, but I think it's a keeper. So lots of fun, sort of quirky options. It maybe leans a little celebratory, but it wouldn't have to be a birthday card. This could be a lot of different occasions. So you're going to get this in black, both in your portrait and landscape orientation. And then it's also in there in this gray, a sky blue, a sort of forest green, and brown. I love to print these onto colored cardstock. So I might put the gray on a light gray cardstock or this green on a green cardstock to just get that tone on tone feel. I love that a lot. At the $5 tier, we have our Sassy supporters, and they've got a bunch of bonus goodies as well. So we start with our strip sentiments, white text on black. It's the same 2 whimsical fonts, that scripty font, and then the classic serif font. I finally gave in. This one, again, didn't print super well because I needed to replace the toner. So you'll notice in some of the other ones, they look much better. Guys, I'm cheap. I'm cheap. That's why I give free stuff away. Then you get the birthday text background as a full page of text. There's no branding on here. I did not print borderless. You're probably going to get a little bit of it cut off at the edge unless your printer can handle like fancy borderless printing. But it's all the same colors with the addition of a navy in there as well. So black, gray, blue, navy, green, and brown. And then finally, we have some additional ephemera at that $5 tier. We have some camping icons over here. And then we have 2 scenes that you can frame out. I've made it so you can truly get like a full A2 panel here if you just wanted to cut them out that way. And I love this as like a quick way to start a card. You could stamp a sentiment. You could print this onto colored cardstock. I would love to print this on like a light blue. I think you would still get a lot of true color coming through. And I think it would be absolutely beautiful. So again, all of that is at the $5 tier. When you go to join for free, it will show you all the paid options. You can certainly look through them, but please know I give away lots of free stuff because I know not all of us have that in our budget, and I am thrilled to have you join us at any tier. At our $12 tier, we have even more ephemera. You guys, I went a little overboard with this kit. So we have a hammer, some pliers, wrenches, a drill, screwdriver, right? So I love this. They're pretty simple images. They're pretty easy to cut out. I know a lot of us are going to end up fussy cutting these. If you have a scan and cut, it should work pretty well for these images as well. Otherwise, if you're at that champion tier and you download this from the image files, it'll have a transparent background. And these are really easy to do as a print and cut either on your Cricut or your Silhouette. And we have a bunch more backgrounds. So we have this really great football background that I think is super fun. And then this gorgeous mountain scene that could make for a really quick card, just a little sentiment up here. And that would be fantastic for all my outdoorsy guys. Then a really neutral sort of tone on tone, slightly geometric background. I love this one. We're going to use this one today. And then this one, my husband picked out this color palette. It was one of the favorites that he gave me. And so I thought I would try and see what I could come up with. So we have this sort of geometric, wavy, bold graphic pattern. And then I was just playing around and came up with this sort of watercolor wash. And I was like, wait a minute, I know what else we need to do. So we have this one that's sort of a yellow and black. But then there's a big football game coming up on Sunday. If you know where I'm at geographically, my family, I grew up as a huge Chiefs fan. And so this I have as a Chiefs background for us, but you could use it for lots of other things. And then because I know not everyone is on Team Chiefs, I also made one in Eagles colors that it's just a really great sort of watercolor dynamic background for you. So all of those are available at that $12 Saskatier membership level. The Saskatiers can also download all of the sentiments as resizable image files with transparent backgrounds. They're digital stamps essentially. And in the video tutorial for my Patreon, I show you how to use them and how to resize them. At the $25 tier, we have some of my very favorite ephemera for the entire kit. We have a bunch of large vehicles. We know how so many of our dudes just really love their large machinery. So we have like a retro camper van, an old truck, some newer trucks, a riding lawnmower, and a regular lawnmower. I love these. I will probably make some cards with these. You'll have to let me know if you want to see a video for that or if I should just post them in Patreon. Don't forget, all of these you'll get as resizable image files at that $25 tier. And then we have a bunch more backgrounds. So I made a ton of masculine backgrounds. I've been making them for months. And so you're gonna get the PDF backgrounds I'm about to show you here, but a lot of times I'll create a bunch and then I'm picking and choosing like what are my favorites. So if you like the PDF version, I put a bunch of them in that way. But the image files you get, where there's usually like just an image file for each of these, there are extra images in there. So you'll have to go and take a look. I am so excited to be able to share so many ideas with you. So I love this one. It almost looks like a little bit of gold shine on there. Then we have this really great, almost like an acrylic pour. Okay, and so it's got little veins of golds and blues and other deep, rich colors. This one reminds me of paper art, right? And so if I kind of hold that up, you can see there's all these little different layers of paper. I'm still playing with my new printer, so I have a little bit of streaking in here, but please know that's my printer. That's not the image. So your image should be just fine. And then this one was another color palette that I would not have thought of. I don't tend to lean towards warm colors. All these blues are right up my alley. But as I was trying to come up with masculine color palettes, this sort of beigey, orangey, brick red color or terracotta color kept coming up. So we tried some of that. And then this one reminds me of quilling. If you look closely, these are like little bits of paper threaded all through here. Is it a masculine background? Sure, why not? But again, I think so much of the stuff that's in this kit is really versatile and can be used for lots of different people. And then our last page is maybe one of my favorites. It has the texture of like really thick paint, layers of paint, and then just little gold rimmed edges. I love the pops of mustard yellow and teal that are on there. I think it's so striking and beautiful and masculine. Don't forget that that champion tier is going to get obviously every PDF page that we have looked at here, but all of the images you can download as a PNG file, an image file with a transparent background, turning it into a digital stamp. And then all of our circle and rectangle images you can also download with that transparent background. And so it turns that into a digital stamp and just gives you tons and tons of options. There's also a database where you can search through every sentiment that I have ever released. You can look by theme, you can look by wording, you can look by when it came out, whether or not it has images in the kit, how many pages are in the kit, and then there are direct downloads. So our Saskatier and our champion tiers have databases with direct downloads for kits. That makes it really, really easy to get all the sentiments and images that you want. Friends, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'm on a mission to make card making more affordable and more accessible for everyone, and I would love to have you join us. All right, let's make some cards. So we're going to start with an A2 panel. It's 4¼ by 5½, and then we need some pattern paper. This is part of the downloadable kit for the Saskatoon membership level, but you could use any pattern paper here. The measurement is 4⅛ by 5�3/8. And I know we don't all like eighths of inches, but putting the eighths of inches on the rectangle makes it easier when we go to cut our triangles. So you can see in the sketch that we have 2 triangle pieces down in the bottom right, but we also need to remove a triangle from this larger piece of pattern paper. So I have a square that is 2½ by 2½ inches, and I am just going to cut that diagonally, and it will give me exactly the size that I need. So that's the triangle that I'm actually going to put onto my card, and I'm just going to borrow the other one. I'm temporarily adhering it to that pattern paper so I can cut away a triangle of the exact same size. Okay, so here's my card base, and that's going to fit in the top left, and then my other triangle will fit in the bottom right. I also want the remaining pattern paper to be a triangle that starts from a square that is 2¼ inches. So I have just adhered a 2¼ inch triangle, if that makes sense, just like we did with the craft piece, to my pattern paper, and I'm going to cut off the diagonal, the hypotenuse of that triangle. It sounds fancy, but friends, I promise all the measurements that you need are on the sketch. I'm adding my largest piece of pattern paper so that I have equal margins on all of my sides except for that triangle in the corner. When it comes to this craft piece, it's going to go all the way into the corner of the card. So I have a little bit of a margin between it and the pattern paper, but nowhere else. Then when I add the leftover pattern paper in there, I get this sort of continuation of that pattern that I love a whole lot. To decorate this card, I'm going to use a Spellbinders die set called All the Tools. I've had this for a while and I still haven't used it in a video. So I thought I would show you how quick and easy this one is. You certainly could use the ephemera that's included in the kit, but I know not everyone has the paid tiers. So I just wanted to show you several options. I am adding the larger piece of the ruler in the back, and then we have the one with the little like grid lines on the front. I just put a little glue on the back of my hand and sort of wiped those tiny little fingers into it, so I didn't have to go like tap dots of glue on the whole thing. Then this wrench might be my favorite thing. It looks so real. I will pick it up at the end. You guys, there is such texture and dimension. I am doing it all out of some matte silver cardstock, and I can't get over it. I can't get over it. It's so good. Then we have a hammer, and there are just 2 pieces to glue onto here. I am using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. If you've been here, you know if I am gluing onto like a glossy cardstock or a slick surface, I reach for that one over my Barely Art. It tends to have a little bit quicker grab. It's not as wet, if that makes sense. And it makes this process a little bit easier. So then here's my saw. I've got too much glue on there. I was just getting excited. It was coming together really nicely. And I was thrilled. So there are 2 pieces to the handle and then our saw blade, and that's it, right? So really, really quick. I love adding just a little bit of a die cut to sort of step things up and give texture and dimension, but you could use ephemera instead. I have added my matte layer for a rectangle sentiment in the bottom right-hand corner. That is 2½ inches by 1½ inches. And it's going to be great for all of the rectangular sentiments that I have released, right? Totally interchangeable, and you can stick this in your stash. You don't need to pick right now what sentiment is going to go on there. And then I have just lined up my tools across this pattern paper, and we get sort of a tone on tone. It's almost the difference in shine to be able to see some of these tools. And that subtleness with the bold pop of navy here and there. I love this so much. I'm hoping to put out a video where I talk you through some of the masculine color choices that I've made and making a little guide for some of those that I can share with you. To cut out our rectangular sentiments, there are tick marks on here. And so I line this up in my trimmer and I trim from the bottom to the top, but I don't cut all the way through the top. I leave that header intact and I get these little flaps. That lets me rotate it and I still have those tick marks intact on the side, and I can just run my blade right through there, and I will end up with 18 sentiments perfectly cut out in about 2 minutes. Okay, so I'm actually going to use 2. I was originally thinking 1. We have 2 My Weekend Warrior, You Nailed It. And actually, there's a different version of this and the circle sentiments if you wanted to do that instead. It says, you nailed it, another year in the books. So it's like definitely a birthday card or an anniversary of a work something. There's lots of ways you could use that. On the inside, I'm going to adhere both pieces with temporary adhesive, just so that if I change my mind and don't want both an outside and an inside sentiment, that's easy to replace. And of course, always on the front of my cards, it's removable adhesive so I can change my mind later. Our second card is starting the same way, but we're going to make a fun fold. And so I have some pattern paper, again from the Saskatoon level, and I have a 2.5-inch square that I've cut diagonally, and I'm going to tape that into the corner and just cut through it. So if you didn't have like a removable tape runner, this works as well. I'm just going to cut right through that tape. It is not going to matter. You'll notice that my pattern paper is very thin. I accidentally printed it on regular printer paper. It's 24-pound printer paper instead of cardstock, but I wasn't going to let it go to waste. That's a lot of ink, and I knew we were covering up a lot of it on this card anyway. So I cut a white piece the same way I cut the pattern paper so that they are the exact same size. And then I'm going to cut that same triangle, that 2.5-inch triangle, from the front flap of my card. The Fun Fold instructions actually say to use a side folding card for this, but I don't think it matters. Another way to get your measurement for that smaller pattern paper triangle is just to mark 1/4 inch from the top corner and 1/4 inch in from the bottom left corner, and then you can just connect those on the blade of your trimmer and trim away the excess. So I'm going to add my pattern paper again here. You can see how thin that is. So I am using just the tiniest little bead of glue. I don't want you to be able to see that through the pattern paper, but it works out just fine. You can't tell at all. Then I have my 2.5-inch square cut diagonally, and I'm putting one of those on that bottom right corner, but that's actually on the inside of the card, okay, because we cut away that front flap. Then I will add this leftover piece of pattern paper onto that yellow triangle. If you can't tell, here we go. It's a Chiefs card. I had to, you guys. I had to. And here, as we open the card, you can see we have our little sort of pop of color and pattern paper on that bottom right-hand corner. And I love that so much. But we're going to take it another step further. Of course, before we do that, I added my white panel on the inside just because it's a black card base, but you could skip that. And then we'll decorate the front. This is the athletic apparel die set from Spellbinders. You can make a jersey or a polo shirt or a basketball jersey. And then there's jersey numbers and then this sporting goods set. I love all of these. And plus that sporting goods set is hands down the biggest set I've ever seen. I don't have like printable jerseys for you, but I do have printable sports balls. So you certainly could use some of those to make a different kind of card like this. I put a handful of these jerseys together back in December. I will just link to the video below where I put that whole die together and adapted it to make a jersey for my team. I didn't feel like you needed to see that again. But on the inside, I want to create a little bit of a score line right along that yellow cardstock. And so I'm just using the tip of a paintbrush. It's kind of a pointy tip, but you could use a stylus, or if you have an old pen that doesn't work anymore, that can work really, really well for here. I'm not actually going to fold all the way back on that score line. Instead, I just want to give it a guide because we're going to have to bend that corner back to get the card open. For our sentiment, I am stacking up both our 2-inch circle and our 2.5 by 1.5 inch rectangle layer. And then when I add this onto the card, I want to add it only to that bottom right-hand corner. So I'm going to use some mint tape. I'm aligning my sentiment mats, and then I'll put the mint tape right along that diagonal to make sure that when I go to add my foam tape, I'm not going to accidentally tape my card shut. So you can see I only have foam tape below that mint tape line, and then I'll add a little bit of wet glue to make sure that I have a little bit of wiggle room, right? I want to make sure this is lined up just right. So I sort of visually lined it up, and then thankfully the wet glue was there. That foam tape is super sticky and I had it a little bit too low. The circle was hanging off of my card, but I was able to peel that up and move it ever so slightly. I'm going to use a sentiment that says age is just yardage. I love this one. It's something about the font, and I will add that one with removable adhesive as well. And I thought I was done, but as a last minute addition, I was like, we need a football. We do. I know that NFL footballs don't have the white stripes on them, but I don't care. We're just going to leave it. It is so simple to put together, one brown piece, one white piece, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue and add that right over top of my jersey. So then we have this little fun fold. You sort of pull back on that corner and it lifts that sentiment so you can open the whole thing. I think it's such a fun surprise and a little bit different. All right, my friends, those are our 2 card projects for today. I would love to know which of these 2 is your favorite. I cannot decide. If you are interested in the free download, there's a 4-page version linked in the description box below the video. And all I ask is that you subscribe to my channel. Plus, then you won't miss out on any of the future freebies. If you would like the longer version of the kit that is free in Patreon, there is a link to my Patreon, a link specifically to that post. There's also a link to the video tutorial explaining my Patreon, how to join and how to join for free. And it is right next to the downloads. If you're a paid member of my Patreon, or if you're about to join because you like something that's in one of the paid tiers of the kit, thank you so much. You help to support this work that I do that lets me teach less so I can spend my time making kits to give away for free to everybody so that card making is more affordable and more accessible. I appreciate you so much. You have quick links to all of your collection folders in the description box below the video, right next to all the other download information. Be sure to check back all month long for more masculine card inspiration. We have a whole nother masculine kit coming out mid-month, and it will cover things like being a nerd, being a geek, computers, adult beverages like whiskey and beer. My husband is a home brewer, so there was definitely gonna be some great beer sentiments in there. You guys, I have so much to share with you, and I cannot wait. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you next time.